There was a lot of controversy in the mid '90s surrounding KMFDM and events that had happened in America, and it's all kind of gone under now. It's not. It's not a thing. How do you think that affected you and KMFDM with all that, with a lot of fingers being pointed towards you?
You're probably talking about Columbine, which was in April '99. That
Yes.
was definitely at the end of the decade.
Yes.
And it was a shitstorm, and I think that I had my head screwed on in such a way that I did the right thing. I mean, I knew from the get-go that this was just like grabbing in a pool of, nobody knew anything on television. They were like this German band, and
Right.
and then some members of that German band wanted to kind of get this 15 seconds of fame, and I said to them, well, if you, with your heavy German accent and a bald head and a raincoat and wearing fishnets, if you go on television, man, they're gonna fucking slaughter you.
Right.
So we just issued a press release saying, of course, all the right stuff, that
Right.
we don't condone violence, which of course we don't.
Right.
And then, of course, the perpetrators of this witch hunt, they had to fish for another target, and who better than Marilyn Manson, because he was like a household name, pretty much, where KMFDM was an underground household name.
Right.
And of course, Manson, he was equipped enough to take that shitstorm sort of face on,
Yeah, exactly.
Which, put him a little bit, at least in my world, it put him a little bit on the map in terms of, at least he's not a dumbass, And that was good. I mean, it was good that someone that could actually say something and was in a position to do so, did so. I like that.
What inspires you to keep creating after 27 years?
Shit, I don't know, man. It's every free minute I have. After the little one is in bed, I just walk up in the studio and I feel the urge to turn it all on and just continue where I just left off 2 hours ago.
Right.
I don't know. It's weird. It's like a maniacal obsession.
Mm-hmm. I understand that I actually had a friend text me today, you're playing in a band again. Aren't you a little old for that now? And I texted him back and I just said, that's, if I don't do this, I'm not me.
Oh, of course. I mean, I know people that play in bands that are over 70, and they're pretty damn fucking good at what they do.
Yeah.
So I don't think that age is just a number. It's not about the years that you have, but the way you feel,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, up until about 5 years ago, I would get carded. Come on,
That's great.
I'm in my 40s, and that's like pretty funny.
That's great. So are you, the remix album is out now? The Blitz is out. Any plans to tour the U.S. this year or in 2011?
No, we're going to tour the U.S. right on the cusp of releasing the new album, which will come in late March. So expect us in, let's say, late April, early May, something like that.
Really? And you've got a new album already in the works. It doesn't seem like Blitz has been out that long.
Well, by the time that will be released, it's going to be 2 years since Blitz.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Wow. I guess I'm a little bit behind on the times on that.
Well, it's just time flies,
Yeah, it does. You've been doing it for 27 years. You've seen it all. You've been a part of this whole scene for so long. Wax Track.
Well, don't make me sound insensitive. I mean, I'm routine, but I'm not sort of a player,
Oh.
For me, it's new every time too.
Okay. Well, you've seen things change. You've seen the way things, from your, Wax Tracks to TVT to you've been on Universal. Now you're back with Metropolis. How has the music business changed for you?
Well, for me, it has not changed all that much. I knew from a very early point in the life of KMFDM that everything hinges around the DIY aspect. I knew that the people at the label were talking out of their asses, and surely the nice dinners and the cocktail parties couldn't really, fool me. I knew that all the shit was going to come out of my recoupable account at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And I was always kind of striving to keep the middleman out of the equation.
Mm-hmm.
So what really worked well for me was that I had a day job. In the early days of KMFDM, I was working in a publishing company, And I learned the publishing and copyright business pretty much from, how do you say, like from,
the get-go.
Yeah, from the get-go.
Yeah.
I mean, so when I asked the guys at Waxtrax, so, we just did a tour with Ministry, and apparently you guys now want to extend our contract. How are sales here? They said, we sold about combined maybe 125,000 copies of your records. And I'm like, that's 2 albums and 2 singles? And they were like, yeah. I was like, holy crap, I mean, we can hardly sell 500 copies in Europe, so I'm going to stay here.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Of course I did. I stayed there, and I started my own U.S.-based publishing company. I started my own corporation.
Right.
And I dived right into business, and I was like, okay, now is the time. I had rejected a couple of offers from some major record labels here in Europe, like amongst others, Polygram.
Right.
And I was like, this is the way to do it. I mean, the guys at Waxtrax, Jim and Danny, they were like, down in the office at 9 in the morning, and then at 6 in the evening they would party and smoke joints and drink beers. And this was kind of like the life, and they were still successful. Of course, it didn't help that that Jim got really sick, and then TVT kind of jumped in and bought out the company, and it turned out that TVT were like worse than Satan, basically.
Right.
But I had, through all these little experiences, I had my go at the DIY existence, and it worked out for me. I mean, back in, was it 96 maybe, when MP3 technology first came up?
Yes.
Maybe 97. I knew that with the advent of that, if records, especially major record companies, wouldn't embrace that technology and make it their own, that it would be their downfall. And, of course, everybody snubbed at it.
Mm-hmm.
Said, we're not going to go with a couple of hacker kids. And there you go, they're all crumbling, they tumbled, they're all down. I mean, I got a good friend that was VP at Ryco Disc.
Mm-hmm.
And not only did she have to fire 41 people, she's fired now herself.
Oh.
And everybody's struggling, but, for people like KMFDM, when we come to the U.S. in the middle of the recession, last year, it's like business is up,
Right.
Sales are up, everything's up. It's like, I think it works that way because, if you're not full of shit, and if you don't condone this kind of behavior, like, oh man, we're going to charge top dollars for merchandise and records, then you are good.
Right.
You're good in the books of the consumer, and I am a consumer myself.
Right.
I know I wouldn't pay more than $16 or $18 for a shirt, and I wouldn't certainly pay more than $12 for a nice shiny CD because I can have it for less. But then it's MP3 or whatever format.
Right.
But so we're selling our stuff for a fair price. We're putting out good product, and that's how the music business has changed for me. I'm not depending on people anymore. I make my own destiny.
Right. Right. And, I noticed a long time ago when I first started getting into music that you had KMFDM Enterprises set up. And I always wondered what that was. And as I got older and learned more about the business, I realized that's your publishing side. And that's where you actually cover your back end. Well,
KMFDM Enterprises was the first entity that I formed when entering the U.S. in 1990. It was at first a mail order company, then it became a publishing business, then it branched out into KMFDM Incorporated. And then finally, KMFDM Inc. is now just the publishing arm of KMFDM Inc.
Mm-hmm.
And, as corporate as it sounds, I mean, there's me and there's just me. I mean,
right.
You send me an email, it's me that gets the email.
Yeah. I thought that was really cool when I emailed you and it was you.
I know. The one thing that really worked out, I was going out on a limb there. I knew this one guy that used to come to concerts since he was 16 years old, and he grew up. He became like a corporate computer dude in corporate world, and I kept meeting him at concerts. And one day I took him aside and I said, "Hey, man, I mean, how's life for you?" And he said, "I hate this corporate work." I said, "Why don't you work for me?" And he's the guy that runs the KMFDM headquarters in Houston these days, and he recruited a bunch of a few select KMFDM hardcore fans that now all make a living off of KMFDM. and we're in this kind of joint venture together, and it's beautiful. We don't need management, we don't need merchandising companies, we don't need any of all this crap because it's all self-contained, and we can afford to keep prices down,
right,
and still all make, maybe not a luxurious living, but
you're okay.
At least it puts fucking bread on the table. Yeah.
Yeah.